I never really had any volunteer experiences growing up. However, I knew that I was deeply touched by the constant state of helplessness I saw on TV. Whether it was people hit by drought and famine, homes destroyed by hurricanes, or people displaced because of wars and conflicts. Constantly seeing calls for aid relief in the media and hearing lectures on how people should do something to help others made me question my own actions and purpose as a child. I was thrown into a world that expected me to contribute in one way or another, and I didn't know how to do this. I later learned that it's not what you do that matters, it's how you do it. I began my volunteer journey as a way to fulfill my community service requirements for high school. I was expected to volunteer for a certain number of hours, and so I spent both my junior and senior years packing meals for an after school program called Brain Power in the Backpack and packing meals for Feed My Starving Children. Even though I began with the intention of fulfilling my community service requirements for school, I also started to think about what else I could do in the future. I realized that there were so many nonprofit organizations around the Twin Cities that offered volunteer opportunities to students. My interest in college shifted as I started using my skills and abilities in my community service. My sister, who was also a scholar at the time, told me about the CESP program and how this would be a great chance for me to get connected to organizations in the Twin Cities. So in my second year, I too became a scholar. When the pandemic hit, I started volunteering at People Serving People, where I was a classroom assistant in their early childhood development program. However, this experience did not last long, and I was forced to seek online opportunities. I decided to participate in a virtual international internship in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where I worked as an English teaching assistant for a nonprofit organization called Voluntario Global, which offered English courses to members of the community. Here, I worked with various age groups from elementary school age children to high schoolers and adults. Being multilingual and a language learner myself allowed me to interact and connect with the students. I was able to form connections and learn a lot of things that I wouldn't have learned had I not taken advantage of this opportunity. I often found myself looking forward to the time when I would facilitate discussions in class. The children would ask me about what living in Minnesota looks like and would get really excited when I showed them pictures of the snow. I also liked that I worked with various age groups, so I was grateful that I got to have some meaningful conversations with the adults, where we talked about everything from how our countries are dealing with the pandemic, to politics, to climate, and even life goals. I continued with this education path abroad, where I volunteered as an English and Spanish course instructor for the Red Cross organization in Toledo, Spain. I mainly taught African immigrants in the Spanish courses and immigrants from Latin America in the English courses. I chose this experience because it not only allowed me to become more involved, but also gave me the chance to learn more about the immigrant experience in Spain. Hearing firsthand experiences of people who had gone through so much but still remained resilient and hopeful gave me a different perspective on life. I treasured the moments my students would share stories about their native countries. I wanted to know more about their lives in Spain and how they were adjusted to the culture since most of them had recently arrived. I appreciated that I was able to connect with them, whether it was through the discussions we had in class, the coffee we drank at the nearby coffee shop, or the birthdays we celebrated together. These are some of the best memories I'll forever remember and look back at fondly. My experience in Spain made me develop a deeper interest in the immigrant experience here in the US. This is why I sought an internship at the International Institute of Minnesota, which is a nonprofit organization located in St. Paul that works to empower newly arrived immigrants and refugees by providing them with services and resources to help with their transition to the US. I work in the Refugee Services Department, specifically the Afghan Placement Assistance Program. As an intern, I work with the case managers to provide newly arrived refugees with services such as finding and furnishing housing prior to their arrival, enrolling refugee children in school, applying for social security cards and public benefits, accessing medical care, and connecting adults with employment counseling services, among others. I'm also working on a project with the institution that is aimed at improving the health needs of immigrant women in the community. As my undergraduate career comes to a close, I am nervous but hopeful for my future. I really enjoyed meeting new people in the English classes I taught, and so I want to continue doing this in my gap year abroad. And although the future is uncertain, I'm determined to do everything with intention and meaning because often when you think you're at the end of something, you're the beginning of something else.